Hello, everyone. Today I am talk about Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler remains one of the most infamous and controversial figures in world history. His name is almost universally associated with dictatorship, war, genocide, and tyranny. But to understand how one man came to hold such extraordinary power and cause such immense suffering, we need to look closely at his life, ideologies, rise to power, and the impact he had on the 20th century. Let's begin with his early life. Early life and background. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a small town in Austria-Hungary, which is now part of modern-day Austria. His father, Alois Hitler, was a stern customs official, while his mother, Clara, was gentle and loving. As a child, Hitler was reportedly deeply attached to his mother and had a troubled relationship with his father. He was an average student, but showed a strong interest in German nationalism and history. He aspired to become an artist and applied to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but was rejected twice. These rejections were major blows to his self-esteem and ambitions. During his years in Vienna, Hitler lived in poverty and developed many of the ideas that would later shape his worldview. He became deeply influenced by German nationalist ideas and anti-Semitic ideologies that were prevalent in Austria at the time. World War I experience. In 1913, Hitler moved to Munich, Germany, and when World War I broke out in 1914, he volunteered to serve in the German army. He served as a messenger on the Western Front and was wounded twice. Though he was a loyal soldier, he never rose beyond the rank of corporal. He received several decorations for bravery, including the Iron Cross. The end of the war in 1918 was a traumatic experience for Hitler. Germany's defeat and the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed severe reparations and territorial losses on Germany, humiliated the nation. Hitler, like many others, felt betrayed and blamed Jews and communists for Germany's loss. Entry into politics and the Nazi Party. After the war, Hitler returned to Munich and joined the German Workers' Party in 1919. He quickly became one of its most active members. In 1920, the party changed its name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. Hitler proved to be a charismatic speaker and skilled propagandist. He capitalized on public dissatisfaction with the Weimar Republic, economic hardship, and national humiliation. His speeches focused on restoring Germany's greatness, reversing the Treaty of Versailles, and eliminating enemies he claimed were destroying Germany, namely Jews, communists, and political rivals. The beer hall putsch and imprisonment. In 1923, Hitler and the Nazis attempted a coup known as the beer hall putsch in Munich. The plan was to overthrow the Bavarian government, but it failed, and Hitler was arrested. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but served only 9 months. During his imprisonment, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, an autobiographical manifesto outlining his ideology. The book laid the groundwork for his future policies, focusing on Aryan racial superiority, anti-Semitism, anti-communism, and the need for Lebensraum, or living space for the German people. Rise to power. Following his release, Hitler began rebuilding the Nazi Party. The global economic depression of the late 1920s and early 1930s created fertile ground for extremist ideologies. Millions of Germans were unemployed and desperate. The Weimar Republic was seen as weak and ineffective. In 1932, the Nazi Party became the largest party in the Reichstag, though it did not have a majority. In January 1933, under pressure from conservative elites, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. Hitler moved quickly to consolidate power. Following the Reichstag fire in February 1933, he convinced Hindenburg to pass the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended civil liberties. Then came the Enabling Act, which gave Hitler the authority to pass laws without the Reichstag's consent, essentially turning Germany into a dictatorship. The Nazi regime and totalitarian control. Once in power, Hitler began transforming Germany into a totalitarian state. He banned all other political parties, established the Gestapo, secret police, and created a surveillance state where dissent was harshly punished. The Nazis used propaganda, controlled education, and staged grand rallies to spread their ideology and secure loyalty. Hitler was portrayed as the Führer, a leader with absolute power who embodied the will of the German people. Hitler's government began implementing racist and anti-Semitic policies almost immediately. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jews of German citizenship and forbade marriage between Jews and non-Jews. Jews were increasingly excluded from public life, education, employment, and legal protection. Militarization and expansionism. Hitler also focused on rebuilding the German military, which had been heavily restricted by the Treaty of Versailles. He defied the treaty by rearming the country, reinstating conscription, and remilitarizing the Rhineland. In 1938, Hitler annexed Austria in the Anschluss, claiming that all Germans should be united in one nation. Later that year, the Munich Agreement allowed him to take the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia, again without military conflict. But Hitler wasn't satisfied. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. This act of aggression triggered World War II as Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II and the Holocaust. Under Hitler's leadership, Nazi Germany launched a campaign of conquest across Europe. France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and many other countries fell to German forces. But Hitler's most horrifying and evil act was the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. This genocide, carried out through ghettos, mass shootings, and death camps like Auschwitz and Treblinka, remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. The Nazis also targeted Romani people, disabled individuals, political dissidents, homosexuals, and others considered undesirable in their twisted ideology. Turning point and defeat. In 1941, Hitler made a fateful decision to invade the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. While initially successful, the campaign bogged down, and Soviet resistance proved much stronger than expected. Meanwhile, in December 1941, Hitler declared war on the United States following Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. These decisions turned the tide of the war. The Allies, Britain, the US, and the Soviet Union began to gain ground. By 1943, Germany was on the defensive. The defeat at Stalingrad marked a major turning point. In the final years of the war, Germany faced relentless bombing, a collapsing economy, and military losses on all fronts. Hitler's leadership became increasingly erratic and disconnected from reality. He ordered suicidal offensives and refused to consider surrender. Final days and death. As Allied forces closed in on Berlin in April 1945, Hitler retreated to a bunker beneath the city. On April 30th, 1945, as Soviet troops entered Berlin, Hitler committed suicide by gunshot. Alongside his newlywed wife Eva Braun, who took cyanide. Their bodies were burned according to his instructions. With Hitler's death and Germany's surrender on May 8, 1945, World War II in Europe came to an end. Legacy and impact. Adolf Hitler's legacy is one of devastation, death, and destruction. Under his rule, tens of millions died in war and genocide. His ideology and dictatorship reshaped global politics, led to the division of Europe during the Cold War, and left an enduring mark on history. Today, studying Hitler is not about glorifying him, but about understanding how democracy can be subverted, how hate can be weaponized, and how dangerous unchecked power can become. His rise is a warning of what can happen when fear, racism, and authoritarianism go unchallenged. So, what can we learn from Adolf Hitler's life? We learn that ideas matter. Dangerous ideologies can take hold when people are desperate or misled. We learn that democracy must be defended, that propaganda is powerful, and that the consequences of hatred and dictatorship are catastrophic. It is our responsibility to remember this history and ensure it is never repeated. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this video brings you something useful and informative.